The railway has been intrinsically linked to the story of Rookwood Cemetery. The first New South Wales railway line opened with great celebration in 1855. This train line, which ran from Sydney to Parramatta, proved to be a deciding factor in the colonial government's decision to establish a grand cemetery in this very area.
People attending cemeteries and funerals by rail was not unique to Rookwood. In fact, it was initiated in London, where trains would run from central London to the cemetery at Rookwood, which is coincidental that our name is Rookwood, and I'm sure there's some connection there between both. We are committed to making sure that the history and the heritage of Rookwood and any buildings associated with it are looked after forever, and so that people can come and enjoy those spaces. The heritage of Sydney lies here at Rookwood.
The Rookwood Mortuary Train, a branch of the Sydney to Parramatta line, commenced with the consecration of the new cemetery 150 years ago in 1867. It operated for over 80 years until 1948. This was the golden era of steam, where the railway was seen as a wonder and an experience never to be forgotten. In 1867, the Railway Commission announced a twice-daily service from Sydney's Central Station No. 1, which by prior arrangement would stop at stations along the way to collect corpses and mourners. Return tickets were 1 shilling, while corpses travelled free. In 1869, a separate funeral terminal from the main central station was built at Regent Street, Redfern. A similar receiving house, which became known as the Mortuary Station Receiving House No. 1, was also constructed in the centre of Rookwood. Both the Necropolis Receiving House and the Mortuary Station at Regent Street reflected the ornate style of Victorian funerals. They were impressive Gothic buildings designed by colonial architect James Barnett, and featured Sydney sandstone with distinctive carvings of angels, cherubs, flowers and fruits. The mortuary train was identified with the sign "Funeral" on the front of the loco, and the hearse carriages were attached to its rear. Rookwood covers an extremely large landscaped area, and 4 stations were eventually constructed on site. Mortuary Station Receiving House No. 1 was the main stop and the most ornate building. It had a bell which sounded out across the cemetery 30 minutes prior to the return trip to Sydney. The last trains that ran funeral processions all but ceased in the 1930s, due to the growing popularity of motor vehicles. Following this, trains to Rookwood were only used for visitors on Sundays and Mother's Day. On the 3rd of April 1948, the mortuary train service was officially terminated. The spur was recorded as closed on the 29th of December 1948. From 1952, Rookwood's Mortuary Station No. 1 fell into disrepair. In 1957, the Reverend Mr. Buckle was looking for a new place of worship for his congregation in Canberra. In a revolutionary move, he purchased the station, which was subsequently dismantled stone by stone and transported to Canberra in 83 semi-trailers, where it was converted into the All Saints Church of England in Ainslie.
In 1 year, this place, which was piled up stones over there, became this beautiful church in 1 year. We paid £100 for it.
Of particular interest is this arch, which was called the Angel Arch when this building was in Rookwood, and the Angel Arch was up the other end because all the trains steamed through under the Angel Arch right up until they came to a halt about here, where the columns end. The font plot is actually a chimney turned upside down so that we can put water in the top, and that's where we baptise our babies.
In its time as Rookwood Cemetery's Mortuary Station No. 1, this historic building welcomed families to Rookwood. Today, the grand footings of the station remain as a testament to how Rookwood began. The journey to Rookwood via the mortuary train was literally the last journey for many passengers, and the railway was a fitting partner to the grand Rookwood Cemetery.